Hello everybody, welcome back to Killer Film Reviews. Today I am reviewing the 2006 film Employee of the Month. We'll start out with our cast list as per usual. Jessica Simpson plays Amy, Dan Cook plays Zach, Doc Shepard as Vince, Andy Dick as Lon, Tim Bagley as Glenn Gary, Brian George as Iqbal, Efren Ramirez as Jorge, Marcel Thafford as Semi, Danny Woodburn as Glenn Ross, Harold Williams as Russell, Sean Wallen as Dirk. A lot of this film kind of plays around the stereotypical romance between a coworker and whatnot, except this is one of the few occasions where things don't go so bad. The whole film is shot in a Costco, pretty much. You can tell by looking at the various Kirkland products on the walls to the architecture. It's pretty much shot inside a Costco, so imagine like if you work for Costco or Sam's Club, you really could click well with this movie. Granted, some of the humor is a bit dated, considering it came out in 2006. But it holds up pretty well. It's basically focused on Dan Cook, Zach, Zach being the box boy, Mr. Cool and Coolio and all, and then Doc Shepard's Vince being Mr. Employee of the Month all the time. Basically this hot girl, Amy, starts showing up, she transfers over to the store. Zach's interested in her, so he actually wants to try for once. Spends most of the movie trying to improve upon himself while hanging with his buds. Vince has a Latino sidekick named Jorge. Spend a lot of the movie, Vince spends a lot of the movie trying to talk down to Jorge. Eventually Jorge kind of gets the upper hand towards the end. Vince kind of acts like your typical arrogant white guy or whatever in this time period. Some words are used that may be offensive to some audience, some people. So be wary of that. The slur retarded is thrown around in this movie quite a bit. That may be offensive to some viewers. I do acknowledge that. The film is PG-13. Director is Greg Coolidge. No idea if he's related to Calvin Coolidge. But you basically get a nice little romance novel out of this entire film. Pretty much between Zach and Amy, eventually. A lot of the film, Zach is spent trying to improve upon himself. A lot of the quote-unquote action kind of takes the mid part of the film. Don't really have any, I suppose, like, if we're going to criticize to modern standards, yeah, obviously not using the word retarded, yada yada. I thought that Zach's character was well done. He was pretty nice and humble. Basically, he's like a failed software developer, pretty much. Software development dreams didn't take off quite how he wanted to, so that's why he's stuck in retail. I think a lot of folks could really just relate to this film if they've worked in retail even for just a little bit, because you always have that all these expectations. Oh, you gotta get this done, you gotta get that done. Like, having worked for Sam's, I can just tell you that a lot of that is pretty much spot on even still, like within recent years. A lot of them tropes, but things have gotten better. Obviously, there's a lot more respect for different groups these days compared to how it was back then. Was there any... What do I rate it overall? I rate it like, I want to say it was like a... Not an 8 out of 10, just didn't quite have kind of what it had to make it a 9 or a 10, but it really did make me laugh sometimes. The only trope that I wish it had touched upon that's common in retail was the pushing of the credit cards. It didn't really touch on that. It really touched on the position of cashier and the position of box boy, which I didn't even know was a thing actually before. They must have eliminated that position by the time I got into where I'm at now. Either that or position didn't exist where I worked, because I never thought that was a position, box boy. That just shows how there's a lot of difference when the years pass. Was there any major things that could have been changed? Not really. Think about it. Open Gmail. Alright, that's all taken care of. Basically been trying to get over this C virus nonsense, so it's nice to finally be over it. So overall, did the film wrap up in a way that I thought was good? I would say yeah, for the most part. Don't really have anything against how they portrayed anything. I mean, the eyeglasses person, what was that? What was the character's name? Lon was pretty decent. Huh. Even looking at his picture here on IMDb, it looks like he has a resemblance to Logan Paul a little bit. Boy. What else did I want to touch on? Oh yeah, Semi. I felt that he should have been given more lines in this film, not just kept quiet the whole time. Like there's still a heavy cultural stereotype. They weren't portraying like African Americans necessarily the right way. I felt like they could have portrayed them a little bit better in this film. I get that it's a comedy, but still they could have done a little bit better on the portrayal of Semi. I don't really think his character really got enough recognition, you know, but he ends up turning out to be the underdog, if you know what that means, towards the end. As for seeing Glenn Ross as the corporate retail person, that was spot on. I could see that. Oh, those corporate people, when they come into the stores, they mean business. They're not going to be so chatty like Glenn Ross's character is as Danny Woodburn. It's going to be very much to the point and really not wanting to deal with stuff. When you work retail, you know that when the corporate people come in, you be quiet and you do your job, you know. I feel like one of the aspects of retail that they didn't really touch on in this film that could have been like touched upon more was just the fact that some stores aren't maintained to standard sometimes, and they're miraculously, you know, cleaned up last minute when corporate comes through. Pretty much tends to be the case for a lot of retail stores, just in general. I'm trying to be careful not to call out any stores in particular. Still, retail companies don't like it when you talk about their bad boo-boos and all that, because they don't want to be seen bad in the negative eye and all that. But yes, in general in retail, you would not want to piss off anybody from corporate, because they will come down with a heavy hand. In general, from across all my years of retail experience. Were some stores better? Yeah, some were better than others. Are the comments true with retail with cashiers not knowing how to handle cash? No, we pretty much know how to handle cash. The credit cards, you know, we kind of don't have a choice. We have to push those. I wish they would have covered that in that film. In the film, because, like, let's be honest, like, if they're portraying retail like super accurately, they would have been saying, can I offer you a membership at Super Club? Can I offer you a credit card at Super Club? You get $25 off if I get you a credit card at Super Club. Stuff like that, you know? I want to imagine that Box Boy was probably a position that they kept probably in the early 2000s, and they eliminated it sometime afterwards because it didn't fulfill store needs or something. And then you're seeing a lot of this trend with the self-checkouts. I would be curious to see how a modern adaptation of this would play out, you know, like a more recent adaptation would play out. With the self-checkouts being a thing now. You know? Now, you can have your own opinions about the selfs, but there's no way a person can watch even 6 of those at once with how much activity goes on, and now they have, like, many of them at some places, and it's just like, yeah. What do I think ultimately of the ending of Employee of the Month? I think it ended on a good note. And again, I don't want to give too much away, you know? I still do think, like, Semi could have used more lines. Like, I get that he's just supposed to be portrayed as the shy guy, you know? But even somebody that works in that field, you know, you gotta be more professional and all that. It's just a movie and stuff, you know? Do I think that they could have extended out the plot a little bit? Maybe. Maybe an extended cut with the honeymoon between Zach and Amy, perhaps. That's about it. And again, as typical with films in that era, they kind of end with them kind of walking off in the sunset or just going back to the main villain and refocusing on them a bit. A lot of the comparisons to retail, I feel like, were valid. I just wish that perhaps they covered maybe Black Friday, that it was set during Black Friday or something, or Memorial Day sale. Because oftentimes when you're dealing with them sales, you're under a lot of pressure to push those credit cards even more. And you may ask yourself, do you have a choice not to push your cards? No, pretty much not. You pretty much get looked at natively if you don't push cards in retail. There's metrics, goals for a certain amount of credit cards per week, like at a lot of retail places. If they say they don't exist, then they're not being entirely honest with you. Now, granted, in more recent years, some of those things have been kind of cut back a little bit due to, like, kind of laws changes, you know, like law changes on the books and all that. But yeah, there still is, like, a heavy pressure to sell credit cards in retail. And back in 2006, I would even say that it was more livable to work retail than it is now. Like, now, with how much they pay in retail isn't necessarily up to snuff. It's kind of still pretty low. You look at the costs of living. There's this common stereotype of, oh, just pick up another job if you're not making enough. And it's like, how come the boomers were able to make it on one job with no college degree, mind you, and then the current generation, or generation millennial to a certain extent, you know, we have to really work our butts off in order to get anywhere, and it's just crazy. I will agree with the stereotype that sometimes my generation can be lacking when it comes to motivation and ambition, but that does not represent the majority. That represents a minority, I would say, when it comes to that particular criticism. Does retail in itself take its toll on people? Yeah, like you get so stressed out sometimes, like you gotta just get off the floor and you just gotta grab a soda or something, you know. For me, my coping mechanism was always Diet Coke, you know, like Coca-Cola, you know, like Diet Coca-Cola. Tended to help with the long day in retail. But yeah, like I have nothing but respect for the retail corporations themselves that do keep a lot of people, you know, out of debt, you know, to a certain extent. Could they treat their employees better? Yeah. Most of them do a good job. There's only a couple outliers, which I won't mention, which could do a lot better. It's just a matter of having the experience and just knowing, hey, this is what's fair, this is what's not fair, all that, you know. Oofda. At the end of the day, does retail need to change? I'll leave that up to the bigwigs on that. Obviously, we all know that they could probably match more wage to market conditions, you know, and being like, hey, let's raise it a little bit, that way so and so can afford a college, not necessarily college, but at least a damn apartment. So many people are on food stamps and retail, it's ridiculous. And you barely like make anything anyway. It's just crazy. You make your money in retail by just having to work overtime, unfortunately. Because you don't have enough with your normal wages half the time, so you have to sit there and work overtime and work another job. It's unfortunate. But it is what it is. And until like the corporations want to change, it's probably not going to change. But there we go. That's my little wrap of Employee of the Month, 8 out of 10. Good film for adults. Some cultural stereotypes in the film. Granted, for its time, 2006, things were a lot more different. But yeah, good film overall. See you all next time at Killer Film Reviews.